Stephen Hawking, the man who decoded the cosmos and guest starred on sitcoms like he was doing a victory lap around the multiverse. He gave black holes their glow up, dropped doomsday prophecies like mixtapes, and made a robotic voice the hottest sound in science. But behind the genius was a parade of contradictions, controversies, and cosmic oopsies that even a wormhole couldn't hide. Buckle up, because we're roasting the legend, one paradox at a time, in everything wrong with Stephen Hawking. Sorry to interrupt, but subscribing is the closest you'll get to time travel, because future you will thank you. The Wheelchair of Doom. Stephen Hawking's wheelchair wasn't just a mobility aid. It was a titanium tank of nerd vengeance. We're talking infrared sensors, voice synthesizers, and more computing power than the Apollo missions. This thing could have launched a satellite and ordered takeout. And he didn't just use it to get around, he weaponized it. There are actual reports that he ran over toes accidentally, which is code for "don't talk trash about my string theory." One caregiver claimed he was deliberately rammed. That's right. Man couldn't move a finger but still managed full Grand Theft Auto mode. Respect. If karma had wheels and a Cambridge accent, it looked like this. Just a reminder, never mess with a theoretical physicist, especially one equipped with artificial voice, genius-level spite, and 300 pounds of rolling payback. But what did Hawking do on Epstein Island? Stick around to find out. Alien hater turned hype man. Stephen Hawking warned the world about aliens like they were space pirates with a Groupon for planetary destruction. He compared meeting them to the Europeans discovering the Americas, only with fewer boats and more disintegration beams. Advanced civilizations, he said, might treat us like ants at a picnic. Sounds terrifying, right? So naturally, a few years later, he helped launch a $100 million project to literally phone them. The Breakthrough Listen initiative was designed to send Earth's mixtape across the galaxy and hope for the best. This is the scientific version of telling your kids not to text strangers, then wiring your address to a van marked "free candy." Either he changed his mind or just thought Earth deserved a cosmic slap. If aliens show up looking to colonize, at least we'll know whose voice was on the interstellar answering machine. Text-to-speech icon. Stephen Hawking didn't just revolutionize physics. He also became the most famous monotone in history.
In the case of political speeches, it is practically zero.
His robotic speech synthesizer, which sounded like HAL 9000 doing customer service, was more than a necessity. It was a signature. Even when better, smoother voice tech came along, he stuck with the original model like it was his ride or die. Engineers offered upgrades that would make him sound more natural, more modern, and less like a dial-up modem with feelings. He declined every single one. Whether it was loyalty, habit, or just elite levels of trolling, Hawking chose to keep the same computerized drawl that made black holes sound like retro horror villains. The voice wasn't just part of his identity. It was a meme generator, a pop culture lightning rod, and an accidental branding masterstroke. He made Microsoft Sam sound profound, and that's probably harder than explaining quantum gravity. Steve on Epstein Island. In 2006, Stephen Hawking attended a science conference hosted on that island. Epstein Island! And because the universe loves irony, there's a photo of Hawking eating a hot dog at a beachside barbecue, which promptly exploded across conspiracy forums faster than you can say bad optics. He didn't go alone, didn't know Epstein personally, and spent most of the trip doing physics talks and nerdy submarine tours. But try telling that to the internet. Once Epstein's name enters the chat, explanations become irrelevant. The vibe quickly turned into, if you stood within 100 feet of Epstein's grill, you're clearly part of a lizard cult. In reality, it was a weirdly funded academic retreat that aged like milk. Did it look shady? Absolutely. Was it a scandal? Not unless awkward location choices count. But online, guilt by GPS is basically a conviction. Strip clubs and supernovas. When Stephen Hawking wasn't unraveling the mysteries of space-time, he occasionally took detours that left the public in stunned disbelief. Like the time he visited a Las Vegas strip club. That's right. The same man who wrote A Brief History of Time was also briefly spotted enjoying the view at an adult entertainment venue. According to reports, he didn't just pop in for curiosity's sake. He had VIP treatment and seemed to enjoy himself more than your average bachelor party. The tabloids treated it like Einstein had been caught at Coachella, while the internet collectively lost its mind. Critics clutched their pearls, fans made memes, and physicists tried desperately to pivot the conversation back to string theory. Whether he was just blowing off steam or embracing life outside the lecture hall, Hawking proved that genius and guilty pleasures are not mutually exclusive, even if they involve neon lights and questionable pole physics. There is no God. In 2010, Stephen Hawking decided to casually nuke centuries of theology with one sentence. His book, The Grand Design, dropped the mic on divinity by suggesting that the universe could create itself. No deities required.
Can God make a stone that is so heavy that he cannot lift it? I don't think it is very useful to speculate on what God might or might not be able to do. Rather, we should examine what he actually does with the universe we live in.
He wrote, "It is not necessary to invoke God to light the blue touch paper and set the universe going." And suddenly, every Sunday school teacher had a full-blown existential meltdown. The religious backlash came in hot, with theologians scrambling to slap together rebuttals, like Hawking had just personally evicted God from the cosmos. But Hawking didn't blink. He calmly pointed to quantum mechanics and said, "Yeah, physics has this covered." Watching him explain away divine creation using theoretical math was like witnessing someone unplug a centuries-old philosophical jukebox with a laser pointer. If theological trolling had a hall of fame, Hawking's chalkboard would be enshrined in gold. Betting on the Boson. Stephen Hawking wasn't just a theoretical physics rock star. He was also occasionally a betting man. And in one of his more public wagers, he put $100 on the idea that the Higgs boson, the elusive God particle, would never be found. For a man who could model black hole evaporation using a cheek muscle, this wasn't his finest prediction. In 2012, scientists at CERN's Large Hadron Collider discovered the particle, confirming a major piece of the Standard Model and instantly making Hawking look like he'd bet against gravity itself. When asked about it, he brushed it off with a shrug and called the discovery a little boring, which is like calling the moon landing a mildly interesting walk. Even when he was wrong, he had the audacity to sound unimpressed. That's not just confidence. It's top-tier physicist Sass with a particle-sized side of ego. Cosmic Divorce Chronicles. Stephen Hawking's first marriage to Jane Wilde began with the hopeful glow of young love and ended somewhere between a soap opera and a black hole. They married before his ALS diagnosis fully took hold, and she supported him through decades of fame and physical decline. But emotional strain, caretaking burdens, and whispers of affairs began to pile up like unsolved equations. Jane later revealed their relationship unraveled under the weight of resentment, neglect, and Hawking's growing closeness to his nurse, Elaine Mason, who, spoiler alert, became his second wife. After the split, Jane wrote a memoir that got Hollywoodified into The Theory of Everything, which sanitized the chaos into inspirational fluff. In reality, the story was far messier. When your marriage is dissected in both tabloids and Oscar bait biopics, you know your love life officially qualifies as a subplot in the universe. Cameo Multiverse Madness. Stephen Hawking didn't just explain space and time, he also showed up in more TV shows than some real actors. On The Simpsons, he flew in a hover chair with a boxing glove, dropped black holes like party tricks, and even joked about stealing Lisa's ideas. Cartoon version or not, the man had style. Then came Futurama, where he helped fight time problems and tentacle aliens. Yes, really. And somehow still made it all sound logical. He even voiced himself in a mobile game, because who says theoretical physics can't come with in-app purchases? And if that wasn't enough, The Big Bang Theory gave him 7 cameos, where he constantly roasted Sheldon and corrected his math like it was light work. Add his poker scene in Star Trek, and you've got a scientist who wasn't just famous for brains. He basically became a one-man Marvel crossover. AI apocalypse now, Wi-Fi later. Stephen Hawking said artificial intelligence might destroy the human race. And he said it while using artificial intelligence to speak. Yes, he warned that smart machines could one day wipe us out, all while using a voice box powered by that same technology. That's like warning people not to eat junk food while snacking on fries. He wasn't totally against AI, but he believed it could be very dangerous if not controlled. He compared it to fire, really useful, but also really good at ruining your whole day. Even though his voice sounded like a 1980s robot reading a weather report, it became part of his image, and he used it to tell the world, hey, maybe let's not create killer robots. It's hard to say if people listen, but when the smartest guy in the room says, watch out, maybe we should have paid attention. Professor or pop star? By the end of his life, Stephen Hawking wasn't just a scientist, he was a celebrity. He gave TED Talks, showed up in movies and TV, and even had a Hollywood biopic made about him. He made science look cool, which is awesome. But sometimes it felt like he was more famous for being famous than for his actual work. Sure, he changed how we understand the universe, but more people remember his Big Bang Theory cameos than his theories about black holes. It's like if Albert Einstein had spent his weekends doing TikToks. Some people wondered if all the fame took attention away from his science. But in the end, Hawking made smart ideas part of pop culture, which is kind of a miracle. If anyone could become a science superstar without selling out completely, it was him. Powered by brains, jokes, and a robot voice. Planet Earth? Hard pass. Stephen Hawking wasn't trying to sugarcoat it. He basically said Earth was on a countdown to disaster. Climate change, pandemics, super-intelligent AI, nuclear war, asteroid strikes, celebrity sins. It was like he had a personal bingo card of how we might destroy ourselves. His advice? Don't fix the planet, leave it. He pushed hard for humans to become a multi-planet species. Like, we're just one rocket away from living on Mars and ordering space lattes. Never mind the tiny issues like no air, freezing temperatures, and the whole zero infrastructure thing. His solution to global meltdown sounded less like science and more like a sci-fi escape plan. Sure, he was thinking ahead. But maybe, just maybe, we should learn to stop burning this planet before we go messing up a new one. After all, if we trash Earth, what are the odds we treat Mars any better? Paging Dr. Monotone. Stephen Hawking could explain the beginning of time, the future of black holes, and the edge of the universe, all in a voice that sounded like your microwave reading a textbook. His computerized voice was legendary, no doubt, but let's be honest, it wasn't exactly thrilling. Imagine getting front row seats to hear one of the smartest humans alive, only to realize his delivery made elevator music sound like a rave. None of this was his fault, of course. The speech synthesizer was his lifeline, and he used it to rewrite science history. But still, it took some serious focus to sit through a lecture that felt like a robot was gently scolding you about string theory. In a strange way though, that voice made people listen harder. After all, when your GPS starts explaining wormholes, you don't want to miss your turn at quantum mechanics, right? A brief history of wait, what? Apparently, Earth made the worst Yelp review list in the galaxy. Between climate change, killer viruses, robot overlords, and possible asteroid death, the message was clear. Pack your bags and don't look back. The idea wasn't let's fix our home, but more like let's colonize Mars before Earth rage quits humanity. Never mind that Mars has the warmth of a freezer and air that'll kill you. At least it's apocalypse free for now. The plan sounded bold, maybe even genius, until you realize we can't even agree on recycling bins, let alone interplanetary survival. Instead of solving the mess we've made here, the plan felt like hitting eject and hoping the next rock is more user-friendly. Inspiring? Definitely. Realistic? Hey, if we can't manage one planet, maybe we should hold off on spreading the chaos to a second one. The abuse allegations no one mentions. While Stephen Hawking's professional legacy soared to cosmic levels, his personal life had moments that were anything but inspiring. After divorcing his first wife, he married Elaine Mason, a nurse who had previously cared for him, and soon after, allegations of abuse began to surface. Staff members and caregivers claimed Hawking had unexplained injuries, including bruises, broken bones, and reports of being left unattended in dangerous conditions. In one particularly disturbing account, he was allegedly left in the sun for hours without proper care. British authorities launched an investigation, but despite the seriousness of the accusations, Hawking refused to file any complaint or speak against Mason. As a result, the case was dropped, leaving many questions unanswered and suspicions unresolved. It's an uncomfortable chapter in his story that rarely gets discussed. No afterlife, no filter. When asked about life after death, he gave the verbal equivalent of a mic drop. There is no heaven, no afterlife, no cosmic waiting room. Just a biological shutdown. For those hoping for angel wings or ghost reunions, this was the ultimate buzzkill. He wasn't trying to be edgy. He just believed that once the brain stops, so does consciousness. Period. No reincarnation reruns, no cloud storage for souls. Some people found this comforting, a realistic view that stripped away fear. Others immediately began panic scrolling spiritual blogs looking for counter-arguments. It was blunt, bold, and very on brand. He didn't believe in softening the truth just because it made people uncomfortable. Whether you saw it as harsh realism or helpful honesty depended entirely on your opinion of stardust, spirits, and eternal playlists. Either way, he definitely wasn't selling tickets to the afterlife. And there you have it. A whirlwind tour through the brilliance, blunders, and black holes of Stephen Hawking, the man we admire not just for reshaping science, but for doing it with style, sass, and a stubborn refusal to play it safe. What do you think of Stephen Hawking? Let me know down below. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.